felt that there was an overstep of boundaries in the roles of the ministers during the policing of or steps taken to address the unrest. So it's not something that is completely new. It's also not something that's only been identified in the police. It has been identified in other commissions as well.
Thank you. In your interactions with the commissioners, you indicated that your misgivings relate to the how act. Can I ask you to perhaps complete that by dealing with whether can a minister even assume that is better constituted giving direction as contemplated in section 207? Could he competently direct the when aspect?
No,
as opposed to the how. In other words, when.
No, you cannot, because once again it will have operational implications. The whole issue of the continuation of investigations. Let me give a very simple example. That court case that was supposed to be heard on the first working day in January, what should have been done with that case? Should the investigator have simply withdrawn and say, I'm not involved in this investigation anymore? If there was a bail application, should the investigator say, I'm no longer authorized to, as a member of the political task team, to attend to this matter so that there's no one in court to oppose or to assist the prosecutor in opposing bail? So the practical implications of that, in other words, the immediately and also the how, is definitely problematic, and it shouldn't be left to the executive in view of the implications that it will have on policing.
But surely that would depend on the nature of that which has to be done. I know something like acts of torture, for example, are addressed as a matter of law elsewhere. But if despite the existence of such law, the minister is of the view that torture is committed by the police, what would be wrong if the minister were to say, I am issuing this direction and I am saying this must stop immediately? I'm just giving that as one example to make the point that surely it would depend on what the direction is about, and you cannot in a blanket manner say that it can never be immediate when it's issued from the ministry.
Chair, I agree, but in your example, torture is already an offence. So the minister cannot...
That's exactly why I preface what I say by saying, with torture, there's already law about it.
Yes.
I would imagine that, put it this way, one cannot discount the possibility that there may be any number of other examples that may require immediate action, which may not necessarily mean that that becomes unlawful purely because the minister says this must happen immediately. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, I agree, but even in those circumstances where an immediate action is required, the decision must be rational. And rational requires it must have a lawful basis, and also it cannot be arbitrary. And I believe...
I'm very sorry to interrupt you. That's something else altogether. I'm just making a simple point. Surely it should depend on the nature of the direction being given. Yes, of course, whether or not it's lawful, it would have to comply with the law, including the Constitution. You are touching on irrationality, that's something that would be unconstitutional in terms of the Constitution. But that doesn't address the debate you and I are having now, which is that surely it may depend on the nature of the direction. And depending on that nature, in certain instances, the minister can be able to rationally and lawfully to say this must be done immediately, this must stop immediately. surely you cannot discount those possibilities. Otherwise, I'm not taking away from your point, but I'm just saying that you should not make the point so categorically as to discount those possibilities.
Chair, I agree. Circumstances may dictate that immediate action is required.
Thank you, General.
Thank you.
Mr. Mtawu, just last one for me, just to make sure I understand. General, if the minister had said, and let's come specifically to the PKTT instruction, if the minister had said to the National Commissioner, I want the political killings, the political killings that are the focus of the PKTT to now no longer be a priority in the list of priorities, no longer be your priority. Here's a new priority that I want you to focus on. If that's what he had said about the PKTT, would that offend the separation of policy and operation? Would you complain if the minister had said that?
Chair, in taking the cue from Commissioner, in taking the cue from the Chair, I believe there may be circumstances where that is required. However, I also want to be careful to say that will also be always the case. But I fully understand there may be circumstances. Let's say there's a huge explosion tonight and a city is completely obliterated. Then the minister may say, don't attend to this, immediately go there and attend to that matter in view of the urgency of the matter, to simplify your example. So that may in circumstances be required. But I am hesitant also to say that will always be the case. I think we need to consider the circumstances of a specific incident.
Thanks. And I think moving from that part, that there can never be a general blanket exclusion, that there may be circumstances where a minister may competently issue directives or give direction by way of policy. If I could then ask you to move from that point and continue with paragraph 28 of your statement.
Well, neither Chapter 11 of the Constitution nor the SAPS Act provides for clear guidance on the ambit or scope of a policy or directives that the Minister may issue. It is important to note that Section 85 of the Constitution deals with the executive authority of the Republic. Section 85(2) provides that the President exercises the executive authority together with other members of Cabinet by implementing national legislation except where the Constitution or an Act of Parliament provides otherwise, by developing and implementing national policy, by coordinating the functions of state departments and administrations, by preparing and initiating legislation, and by performing any other executive function provided for in the Constitution or national legislation. Section 92 of the Constitution provides that members of the Cabinet are accountable collectively and individually to Parliament for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions, and must act in accordance with the Constitution and provide Parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control.
And then you proceed in paragraph 31 to conclude by providing your views subject to the qualification that you stipulate therein. If I can just ask you to deal with that.
In my view, which I offer purely for purposes of assistance, while I note that the issue relating to the proper implementation is reserved for the Commissioners.
Interpretation.
Relating to the proper interpretation is reserved for the Commissioners. The role of the Minister, according to me, is therefore to provide national direction on a strategic level in accordance with government policy.
The next key role player within SAPS that you deal with is the National Commissioner, and you commence with that from paragraph 32.
In March 2022, President Cyril Ramaphosa appointed Lieutenant General Fani Masimola as the National Commissioner of the Police.
And he thereby became a full general.
That is correct, sir. Section 11 of the Police Act details the responsibility.
Chair, I'm not sure whether can we use the English expression that he was then generalized with effect from that.
He was actually specialized by the government.
Thank you. Yes, please proceed from paragraph 33.
Section 11 of the Police Service Act details the responsibilities and powers of a National Commissioner in managing and controlling the police service, including developing annual policing plans, determining the police's structure and numbering of posts, distributing its members, and maintaining training and operational institutions. The Police Act was amended by the South African Police Service Amendment Act in 2012, which clarified that the National Commissioner exercises control in accordance with the Constitution. I particularly highlight the following features as alluded to in the affidavit of the National Commissioner. And if I recall correctly, this was a matter raised by Commissioner Kumalu during the testimony of a National Commissioner. The National Commissioner holds the ultimate authority to control and manage the entire police service in accordance with the National Policing Policy and directives from the Minister of Police. And this is provided for in Section 207 of the Constitution. The National Commissioner ensures the police fulfills its constitutional mandate, which includes preventing, combating and investigating crime, maintaining public order, protecting people and their property, and upholding and enforcing the law.
General, in 34.1, when you say holds the ultimate authority to control and manage the entire police service, would that include the Deputy National Commissioner?
Yes, indeed, sir.
And when you deal with this evidence, can you also deal with their role as well? Because I see that after this section, you go to the provincial commissioners, but you don't say a lot about the deputy.
Okay.
And that is important in the context of the allegations made against General Sibia, and what authority he had to do certain things.
Okay. Commissioner, do you want me to deal with it now, or can I go through the key responsibilities?
You can go through them and then deal with it afterwards.
Okay. The National Commissioner is also, okay, yes, I dealt with the constitutional mandate, strategic leadership. The National Commissioner is responsible to maintain an impartial, accountable, transparent and efficient police service in accordance with Section 25 of the Police Act. The recruitment, appointment, promotion, transfer and discipline of employees of the police service, including the appointment of provincial commissioners. And these matters are addressed in Chapter 9 of the Police Act, Section 207(3) of the Constitution on the appointment of provincial commissioners, Section 8 of the Police Act on the loss of confidence in a provincial commissioner, as well as in the South African Police Service discipline regulations, dealing with discipline matters of employees of the SAPS, except where specific provision is otherwise made in the Police Act, and Chapter 4 of the South African Police Service employment regulations. The National Commissioner is also responsible to ensure the provision of vital services such as crime intelligence, criminal records, crime statistics and forensic laboratory services. This is contained in Section 218 of the Constitution of South Africa, the interim Constitution of 1993, and that provision has been retained in accordance with Item 24 of Schedule 6 of the 96 Constitution, the transitional arrangements.
And you've headed that operational support.
Yes.
Please read your heading as well.
Sorry, Chair.
I'm saying you did not read under 34.5. You did not read operational support, which is I don't know whether you call it the lead.
Yeah, the lead.
Yes, the lead to what you read.
Okay.
For the record, I think we do need. Like for instance, 34.3 strategic leadership, and then
my apologies.
34.4 personnel management, and then you go into what you have and so forth.
Can I continue from 34.6 with the correct?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
The National Commissioner is responsible for internal security, the maintenance of internal security of the nation in accordance with Section 2181C of the Interim Constitution, as well as international cooperation, international police liaison to facilitate cooperation and information exchange in accordance with Section 2181E of the Interim Constitution. The National Commissioner reports, its reporting structure relates to the direct reporting to the Minister of Police as the executive authority responsible for policing in terms of Section 206 of the Constitution, and the President as the authority who appoints the National Commissioner in accordance with Section 207 of the Constitution. In this regard, it should also be mentioned that the employment contract of the National Commissioner is concluded with the President in terms of the police employment regulations, and the President is responsible to deal with the loss of confidence in the National Commissioner in accordance with Section 8 of the Police Act. The National Commissioner also accounts to various institutions such as Parliament in accordance with Section 55(2) of the Constitution, and various other legislative oversight bodies, including Chapter 9 institutions, in accordance with their respective mandates as set out in legislation.
Yes, then can I request from paragraph 35, you say, in addition, I believe it would be prudent to highlight certain specific powers of the National Commissioner. If you could deal with 35.1 until 35.6, and perhaps thereafter address the question that is raised by Commissioner Khumalo, that of the Deputy National Commissioners, before you deal with your concluding 2 paragraphs thereafter. Please proceed from 35.1, strategic planning.
Thank you, Chair. Strategic planning, the National Commissioner develops a plan at the end of each financial year outlining policing priorities and objectives for the following year. This is provided for in Section 11(2)(a) of the Police Act. In addition, the National Commissioner is responsible to structure the service. He determines the fixed establishment of the police and the number and grading of posts within the organisation, as provided for in Section 11(2)(b) of the Police Act. The allocation or distribution of resources is another responsibility, and he decides on the distribution of the services' numerical strength after consultation with the board. This refers to the Board of Commissioners as contemplated in Section 10 of the Police Act. Organisational setup. The National Commissioner organises and reorganises the police service at national level into various components, units and groups. For example, the National Commissioner can decide to organise and arrange certain divisions together. Like currently we have one division called Visible Policing and Operations, and it used to be Visible Policing and Operational Policing separately. So we can arrange and rearrange. And this also means in respect of crime intelligence, the National Commissioner can decide how he wants crime intelligence to be structured as part of the broader structure on national level. The National Commissioner is also responsible for institutional development. He establishes and maintains training institutions for the training of students, in other words, new recruits, and members, in other words, in-service training of existing members. And this is authorised in terms of Section 11(2)(e) of the Police Act. Then finally, the maintenance of institutions. The National Commissioner establishes and maintains institutions necessary for the service's overall management and maintenance, such as bureaus, depots, workshops, and other facilities.
Then if I could ask you to pause there. If you go to page 20 of your statement, you provide a pictorial depiction of the top management structure within SAPS, and part of the positions that you depict therein relate to the Deputy National Commissioners. If I could then ask you, by way of interposing your evidence, to deal with the Deputy National Commissioners and what do they do and what are they responsible for?
The Deputy National Commissioners, there are currently 3 Deputy National Commissioners. They are, in terms of Regulation 8 of the South African Police Regulations, in order of precedence, directly below the National Commissioner. The organisation currently provides for a Deputy National Commissioner responsible for policing. In general terms, that means police officials that wear uniform. That relates to General Mosekiri's responsibility. That would, for example, be visible policing. It will be frontline police officials who work at police stations, attend to complaints. It will also be border policing units, in other words, wearing uniform. The Special Task Force, National Intervention Unit, and Public Order Policing. Typical police officials that you see in uniform reports through the relevant structures to the Deputy National Commissioner for Policing. Then the second Deputy National Commissioner is Crime Detection. That is General Sibiya's environment. That deals more with the investigating part. So that will be the detectives, forensic services, it will be protection and security services, as well as crime intelligence reporting to that Deputy National Commissioner. So General Mosekiri dealing with the crime prevention part and General Sibiya with the investigating part of the mandate of the police. And then the third Deputy National Commissioner is responsible for support services, and that Deputy National Commissioner deals with the support environments. For example, human resource management, human resource development, which is the training part of the police, also responsible for legal services, supply chain, and technology management services. In other words, all the support services to enable the frontline police operational environments to execute their functions effectively.
Now, do the Deputy National Commissioners account to or report to the Minister?
No, the Deputy National Commissioners report to the National Commissioner, and the National Commissioner reports, as the head of department, reports to the Minister.
Can the Deputy National Commissioner say, once a Minister has issued a directive, we are obliged to A, comply with it, B, implement it, notwithstanding what the National Commissioner says?
No, the Deputy National Commissioner does not have that power. And I am reminding you, Commissioner, that Section 199(6) of the Constitution says no member of the security services may comply with a manifestly illegal order. So the fact that it came from the Minister and it didn't fall within the purview of a Minister to give that order is already problematic. The correct approach would have been to report it to the National Commissioner and to say, I've received this order from the Minister and I'm reporting it to you to give direction on how to deal with the matter.
You do deal with this issue later on in your statement when you deal with bypassing.
That is correct.
If I could just take you back to your statement. Let's proceed from page 16, paragraphs 36 and 37.
At this juncture, I pause to note that clear constitutional distinction exists between the political responsibility of the Minister and the operational control of the National Commissioner. The Minister focuses on policy, governance and political accountability, whereas the National Commissioner controls and manages the day-to-day operations of the police service in accordance with the Minister's policy directives. This structure...
Sorry, General, I may be mistaken. I think we are using the term policy directives for the first time. Perhaps Advocate that would help us with the word search. Control, find, and see if it does appear before now. But let me continue so long. By directives, are you referring to the same thing as directions, which is the word referred to in section 2072, or is your idea of directives something different?
Chair, my idea is, as I explained the directives earlier in my testimony.
I'm asking a direct question. Is that the same thing as section 2072 direction, or is it something different?
That is the same thing, in my understanding, yes.
All right. Now, you seem to collapse what appear to be two concepts, collapse into one. What appear to be two concepts in section 2072. Section 2072 refers to policy and directions. The very fact that the Constitution puts them like that suggests that they are separate concepts. I do not know, perhaps through an interpretative exercise, one could say there isn't really a difference, I don't know. But the Constitution says policy and directions, and you've suddenly collapsed them into one. Policy, directions. In fact, you simply use policy now as an adjective, qualifying the noun directions, so that what for you appears to be the most important concept is directions. So policy is merely adjectival, whereas the two appear to be two separate concepts. Do you want to please comment on that?
Chair, I concede. You are correct. The policies, as I explained, are more long-term written documents. It gives the goal, the government's goal, to achieve certain objectives, albeit in the national policing policy, or the example that I utilized to remove barriers in the reporting of certain offences. And it aims the implementation by the police of long-term goals. These are not things that can be achieved overnight, but it is constant goals that should be entrenched in the police, in its operations, working towards that goal and ultimately achieving it. That would be my understanding of policy. Whereas directions are more short-term, immediate action. As I indicated, it can be written or verbal. What are you doing about gangsterism? I need a report, or I need you to do something about this. And in that regard, my statement may unnecessarily have caused confusion, for which I apologize.
No problem at all, General. I've actually also been exercising my mind over what these mean. I know that General Masemula did give his interpretation. You have given your interpretation as well. And when you were engaged by my colleague Commissioner Nhlanhla, and you gave an example of what you understand to be a direction as a message in section 2072. I was interrogating within my mind the question whether, for example, the example you gave cannot actually also be policy. For example, if the minister says we should no longer prioritize such a crime, or we must prioritize such a crime, it is very difficult for me to say that's not policy. It's only a direction. It seems to me they actually be both policy and a direction. I'm just thinking that to say that this is an issue that raises serious interpretation issues. I'll leave it at that. I won't pursue it. Thank you, Advocate Paul.
Thank you, Chair. If you just conclude by pulling 36 and 37 together, and then with the leave of the Chair of the Commissioners, it's almost tea time.
Chair, in conclusion, this structure is intended to ensure political accountability, but insulating the police operations from undue political interference. And I think that is ultimate, the goal of getting that line right, to ensure that there's accountability, but not interference in policing.
Thank you. Perhaps we should adjourn at this point and resume at 11:15. Let's adjourn.
Let's go outside. Yeah, leave it check. Leave it check. Take this one. So, what 5 minutes? That was